Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, and man, that didn't last very long, did it? Apparently, Wizards of the Coast is walking back some of its language in the OGL 1.1. Of course, that is the very controversial update to the open game license that would effectively give Wizards the right to just take your IP, that you have to give them royalties, that it would upend everything that they've cultivated in the fandom for the last 20 years. They were supposed to do a live stream yesterday addressing these leaked changes, and they wound up canceling the live stream. And we knew something was up then, but it turns out that they are kind of walking back this deal a little bit, but I think the damage has already been done. Several publishers are already announcing either plans to break away from Dungeons & Dragons completely, or they're going to unveil their own version of an OGL, like in the case of Paizo. And basically everyone has decided that it's time to ditch DnD because of this one decision. Even if they walk it back, I don't think it's going to change things very much, because they could turn around next year and do the same thing. I think it's driven home the fact that you can't trust Wizards of the Coast. They are a corporation. They're going to corporate. They are part of Hasbro, and Hasbro has been known to do this kinds of stuff. And yeah, the only reason they're doing it now is because they got a massive public black eye because of this. And this is on top of the mainstream media calling them out for gouging people, printing too many cards for Magic the Gathering. And I understand they're going to have to make money wherever they can make it, right? Because that's kind of the corporate mandate. But bleeding the fans dry, bleeding creators dry, bleeding the fandom that has kept your brand relevant, before Stranger Things and before Critical Role even, is not a very good look. It's not going very well. So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, rants. Guys, over 286, almost 287,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. Make sure that you are still subscribed. YouTube was up to some shenanigans, much like Wizards of the Coast. They were up to some shenanigans earlier this week. Analytics disappeared for a lot of people for a couple of days, and some subs disappeared. And people are saying that, yeah, I subbed to you, and now I'm not subbed to you, and I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I have no idea. Just make sure you're subbed. Ring the bell for notifications. You don't want to miss the latest episode of Clownfish TV. We do talk primarily about pop culture, animation, comic books, the geek scene. Been talking a lot about tabletop lately because of Wizards of the Coast making very, very bad decisions. They didn't officially unveil the OGL. I think it was actually leaked by a reporter on Gizmodo. But this new OGL license was very, very strict, and it sent shockwaves throughout the entire tabletop RPG community, because it basically meant that anything you made that was compatible with Wizards products, they got a cut or they could take it. I mean, lots of very interestingly phrased nebulous terms in that leaked contract, that leaked agreement. Now it appears they're walking it back, but I don't think the fans are going to walk it back. So let's see what's going on here. This one's coming from Polygon. D&D maker backs off of the new licensing rules that led to fan revolt. It's clear from the reaction that we rolled a 1, Wizards of the Coast says. You think on Friday, Wizards issued a statement responding to a leaked draft of the open gaming license known as the OGL. The Hasbro-owned company now says it will not require creators to pay a royalty, and that content previously created for the 5th edition of the tabletop role-playing game will remain unaffected. Yeah, it was supposed to be retroactive. They were going to basically go back and be like, yeah, anything you've made for us, you got to sign this new OGL 1.1 as I understood it, and we can just take your stuff. We can just take your stuff, and you can't use the old version because it's null and void. So here's Wizards' statement after they canceled their live stream, because they're cowards and they didn't answer for days. When we initially conceived of revising the OGL, it was with 3 major goals in mind. First, we wanted the ability to prevent the use of D&D content from being included in hateful and discriminatory products. No, that is not the reason. They're going to use that as a shield. Very few people were actually creating hateful and discriminatory products. They're just saying that to make it look like we're doing this because we're the good guys, everybody. No, this was about controlling Dungeons & Dragons and the flow of money, the flow of spice. It doesn't have anything to do with that because, again, statistically, very little D&D material was hateful and discriminatory. It was all about making sure that your competitors couldn't create compatible products, or that people couldn't go do a multi-million-dollar Kickstarter and not give you a cut. Second, we want to address those attempting to use D&D and Web3, blockchain games, and NFTs by making clear that OGL content is limited to tabletop role-playing content like campaigns, modules, and supplements. Again, not true. Very few people are doing NFTs. I don't know if anybody's doing NFTs. That's not what this is about, Hasbro. Quit lying. You're actually digging yourself a deeper hole. You want a cut of everybody else's creation. Just own up to it. Just say, yeah, we saw a lot of people making a lot of money making unofficial products, and we think we should get some of that. That's basically what it is. That's all it is. And we're going to make movies and TV shows, so we got to make sure we lock down this IP. That's all it is. Third, we want to ensure that the OGL is for the content creator, the home brewer, the aspiring designer, our players, and the community, not major corporations, to use for their own commercial and promotional purposes. That should have been number one, because that's what it's about. It's about companies like Paizo. It's about other Kobold Press, other companies making bank, making D&D products or using the OGL. That's what this is about. Driving these goals were two simple principles. Our job is to be good stewards of the game, bullshit, and the OGL exists for the benefit of fans. It did. Nothing about those principles has wavered for a second. That's why our early drafts, there's still a new one coming, guys. The early drafts of the new OGL included the provisions that they did. That draft language was provided to content creators and publishers so their feedback could be considered before anything was finalized. In addition to language allowing us to address discriminatory and hateful conduct, bullshit, that's not what this is about, and clarifying what types of products the OGL covers, our drafts included royalty language designed to apply to large corporations attempting to use OGL content. It was never our intent to impact the vast majority of the community. Bullshit. Bullshit. You want to lock this game down. Bullshit. However, it's clear from the reaction that we rolled a 1. It has become clear that it's no longer possible to fully achieve all three goals while still staying true to our principles. You knew this when you were writing the OGL 1.1. You knew this. You knew how this would go. And I blame Cynthia Williams. I think she came in from Microsoft and she was going to treat D&D like a video game. And she fundamentally does not understand tabletop RPGs. Has she ever played one? Because I don't hear her talking about her gaming sessions or anything like that. I hear her talking about when I was at Microsoft. Wizard says the new OGL covers only content for tabletop RPGs. That means that other expressions such as educational and charitable campaigns, live streams, cosplay, etc. will remain unaffected. Furthermore, any content already created based on the existing OGL will also remain unaffected. The statement is clearly intended to put at ease the many individual creators who now publish casual, actual plays of their groups playing D&D, as well as companies who have had invested time and resources like Roll20 that rose to prominence during the pandemic. Wizards is doing away with its proposed royalty structure. The new OGL will not contain any royalty structure. It will not include the license back provision that some people were afraid was a means for us to steal work. It was. There's no other way to read it. It was. You basically were like, yeah, you make something cool. We like it. We're going to take it. We don't technically have to give you anything for it because it's based on our stuff. That thought never crossed our minds. I'm sure it did. Under any new OGL, you will own the content you create. We won't. Any language we put down will be crystal clear and unequivocal on the point. The license-backed language was intended to protect us and our partners from creators who incorrectly allege that we steal their work simply because of coincidental similarities. That's like the Disney clause. And that is true. Companies do that. Like I said, we had the series option by Disney, and they said, you take the money, got to realize another division of Disney might come up with something similar and you can't sue. And by golly, there was something very, very similar to what we proposed that came out of Disney a couple of years later, and we weren't allowed to do anything about it. As we continue to invest in the game that we love and move forward with partnerships in film, television, and digital games. That's what this is about. That risk is too great to ignore because they won't get sued. They do TV shows, they do video games, which I guess they canceled some games. I don't think things are going as well as they plan. But yeah, they want to make sure that you're not going to come out and sue them and be like, hey, Wally the Wizard or Will the Wizard, well, Will Wise, you know, but this character is very similar to a character in my homebrew that I had a Kickstarter for, and I'm going to sue you. That's what I think they're trying to ignore or trying to get rid of here, right? The new OGL will contain provisions to address that risk, but we will do it without a license back and without suggesting we have rights to the content you create. There was no suggestion. It was very clear. Your ideas and imagination are what makes the game special, and that belongs to you. Bullshit. Bullshit. So yeah, this was all about tripping up Paizo, tripping up Kobold Press, tripping up all these other publishers who, coincidentally enough, had a backup plan. In fact, Kobold Press, I think, announced Black Flag. They're going to do their own system now, and Pathfinder is going to, release their own OGL. So this was yesterday. The damage is done. Like, here's the thing. Wizards might walk it back a little bit for now, but I think everybody sees where this is going, and it's just a matter of time until they come out with a 1.2 or a 1.3 that, is more draconian than the last one. I mean, this is a company owned by Hasbro, and Hasbro is going to Hasbro, and Hasbro is very, very protective and very territorial of its IP. In fact, if they could shut anybody in the world down from creating transforming robot toys, even though they predated Transformers, they would do it. They just don't have a leg to stand on. I think they've tried. I know that they really are not happy with the third-party Transformers, but I think most of those companies are in China, and there's not much they can really do about it legally. But I know that they put a lot of pressure on fan conventions and fan sites to not cover third-party Transformers products, even like labels and 3D printed fists and stuff like that. Like, they were really flipping out about it. And they're just bring that same mentality to D&D now, guys. That's what they're doing. So Paizo, real quick before we wrap this up, Paizo said they're going to announce their own creative open RPG creative license program. Paizo said, we have announced a plan for a system-neutral open RPG license in collaboration with other game companies. We believe it will irrevocably and unquestionably keep alive the spirit of the open game license. Learn more here at Paizo. I think a lot of people are going to jump to Pathfinder. I think a lot of people are going to jump to other systems. I think Wizards has done irreparable damage to themselves. Like, D&D might be the household name that like everybody knows. Oh, Dungeons and Dragons is like fantasy and stuff. And it might get the TV shows and it might get the video games and stuff. But I think as far as the players are concerned, they're going to move on to other systems. The shot, it was a shot across the bow. People are not going to trust them at this point. And this is on top of Magic the Gathering fans and players feeling screwed over. I think Wizards has stepped in it, and I totally expect to see a massive decline in sales over the next year or two as people move to other systems. And it's their own damn fault. They got too greedy. They got too close to the sun. They got burnt. And I really think they need to address who's in charge over there, because this has been the culmination of a couple of years of really stupid decisions by this company that continues to alienate its audience, not just with this, but with taking strong political positions and all of that junk that they've been driving people away year after year after year. They had a boon during the pandemic because people were locked in their houses. They were watching Eddie Munson play D&D, not realizing that 5e was not the version of a D&D that he was playing. And, so people are going to move on. It's time to move on. Definitely. I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.